I hope you take your time to watch my video. I explain the torturous and sickening treatment of what 3 individuals on the pension board, what they had done to me during my retirement process. I always thought over all these years that a fraud can never be covered up unless someone lets it be covered up. The reason I made this video is to reach out for the public for help and support. Marlene Gold, who is the civilian deputy commissioner of the Fire Department Pension Board, who I believe was second in command of the fire commissioner at the time of my retirement, during my retirement process. Marlene Gold and 2 other individuals that worked on the pension boards committed the worst kind of fraud against a New York City firefighter in the history of the fire department. I explain and go into detail of just exactly what happened and what occurred during my retirement process. I show on record how the 3 individuals actually committed pension fraud in their own words, undisputable in their own words. In my evidence file, I have documents that show Marlene Gold is reading my medical reports and stating they are negative. These reports she's reading are reports that the 1B board never read. In the evidence file, I show that the secretary, the operational secretary that worked for Marlene Gold, Mary O'Sullivan, was actually illegally and fraudulently arguing on these transcripts, stating I had an injury when I never had one, a previous injury. And then the next 1B board certificate states the injury that Mary O'Sullivan argued. This is outright fraud also. Also, Magda DeConick, that sat on the pension board for the Corporation Council, admitted that someone was altering my medical documents at the very first 1B board, first Board of Trustees hearing. Admitted this on record, and yet they wouldn't answer to the causation of my disability. On the Board of Trustees minutes, which I have in my possession, the chief medical officer admitted on record I never had a pre-existing neck or back injury. Magda DeConick, the Corporation Council Board of Trustee member, admitted on record I never had a pre-existing neck or back injury. And yet they still denied my pension and refused after multiple Board of Trustees minutes to answer to the causation of my disability. My disability was changed 5 different times. 5 different times. This has never happened to anyone before. My first 2 1B boards contributed my injuries to 2 previous dates where I never had an injury on my neck and back. That's because the medical certificates were written by Mary O'Sullivan with Marlene Gold's permission as her boss and second command of the fire department. This is outright fraud. In my evidence file, I show documents that she was caught writing medical certificates just 2 years later. To this date, no one has ever investigated how many years and how many medical certificates and how many firefighters were rejected from their retirement, line of duty retirement, because of these people and these individuals. At one point I was treated, I felt like a caged animal, where I was forced to stay in my house for 7.5 months, where I couldn't leave my house at any time, under orders of Marlene Gold. The memos that was sent to her asking her to stop this illegal treatment, which was against the fire department orders. A fireman that had a condition expected to last 3 months or more, signed off by the chief medical officer, cannot have home visits, home telephone calls, and cannot be subject to home confinement. I couldn't leave my house for 7.5 long months. I couldn't take my kids to the doctors. I couldn't drive to my attorney's office. I couldn't go up to the walk to the park with my daughter in the baby carriage. I was subject to stay in my house under Marlene Gold's orders because I hired an attorney to protect my pension case because there was ongoing fraud. The fraud didn't stop, it only got worse. It affected I won this one-of-a-kind Supreme Court victory where the first time in history my causation was ever answered to. And the courts found that the nucleus condition, that they changed my disability and took it away and disabled me with a significant pain syndrome, and then changed it to a pain syndrome that no doctor diagnosed. This is incredible. I have evidence in the evidence file that shows Dr. Flum didn't sign my 1B board certificates. They were so clumsy, they put copies of my third 1B board, May 22nd, 1991, into the appellate court records that were two different signatures on them. This is unexplainable. Why would they do that? Because my medical certificates weren't written by doctors. No doctors would write, change the disability 5 different times, relate my injury to 2 previous dates where I never had an injury, and the fire department's own records show that I went to full retraining that I went through when I first came on the job. 3 weeks of full retraining by the fire department, 11 months before my line of duty injury. Marlene Gold and the city of New York states on record in the minutes, all my medical evidence was reviewed. This is a lie. Marlene Gold states that my causation was answered to. This is a lie. The Corporation Counsel admits, and the 1B board admits, that I received my injuries at the fire. The Corporation Counsel and the court records admits I was on medical leave for 994 days from the night of my fire until the day I retired. Marlene Gold is a cruel individual and treated me and my family in a most outrageous way. Fighting all these years has taken a lot out of me, and it's affected my children and my wife. And I just, to this day, can't understand why I can't receive help. I protested in front of Mayor Bloomberg's office just several years ago. Nothing happened, no calls. I called his house several years ago. I got his telephone number and left messages for 2 weeks on his answering machine. He disconnected his answering machine. Never received a call. I protested outside the fire commissioner's office. In the evidence file, you'll see my protest signs. No help. The Brooklyn DA's office did 2 investigations. They found it was the worst case of fraud. At the very least, they said they would try to have Marlene Gold and Mayor Sullivan's law licenses taken away. They would testify at a grievance committee if the statute of limitations was a problem. The reason I haven't gotten any help to this day is because Marlene Gold is a very close ally to Mayor Bloomberg. And my case became a case of dirty politics. That's what it's all about. And for this reason, this is the reason why I haven't gotten any help so far. Just last summer, after writing letters to the mayor's office and the fire commissioner's office for the last 12 years, I've been writing the same letters over and over again. The New York City fire commissioner, against my will, had 2 police officers and 2 crisis workers come to my house. They took me out of my house and put me into a hospital, a mental hospital, for 3 days against my will. This was all because I've been fighting for my pension. And this was their way of trying to put me in place and tell me to stop. Stop fighting for what you were going. Stop fighting and stop it now. This is what they're trying to do to me. If you'd like to see my evidence, some of the evidence in my file, I ask you to click on the pensionfraudwebs.com and go into the evidence file on the documents showing videos. I ask if anyone knows someone in the national news networks that may be interested in my story to please contact me at mroman1027@aol.com. That's mroman, R-O-M-A-N, 1027 at AOL.com. Thank you very much.